Our society's obsession with sex is not a neutral force. The rampant over-sexualization of culture, celebrated in media, entertainment, and elite circles, has created a fertile ground for predators like Jeffrey Epstein, Sean Diddy Combs, and Harvey Weinstein to exploit and abuse women and children. This is not a call to vilify consensual adult sexuality, but a condemnation of a culture so permissive that it enables and even normalizes the exploitation of the vulnerable. The Epstein case, alongside those of Combs and Weinstein, reveals a grim truth. Society's apathy towards ethical boundaries and its failure to confront human trafficking head-on are complicit in the horrors endured by countless victims. The over-sexualization of our society is a key driver of this abuse. To the glamorization of excess in elite social circles, we've normalized a culture where boundaries are eroded and power imbalances are exploited. Epstein, a financier with connections to the global elite, operated in a world where his wealth and influence allowed him to prey on young women and children with impunity. Similarly, Combs and Weinstein leveraged their status in entertainment to manipulate and coerce. These men didn't operate in a vacuum. They thrived in a society that celebrates sexual excess without sufficient regard for consent or vulnerability. When music videos, films, and social media glorify objectification, it desensitizes us to the real-world consequences, a culture where predators can hide in plain sight. The elite class often operates above societal norms, ignoring both ethics and the law to indulge their desires. Epstein's private island and Manhattan townhouse weren't just settings for his crimes. They were symbols of a world where wealth buys silence and access to victims. Combs's alleged freak-off parties and Weinstein's casting couch abuses reflect a similar pattern. Powerful men exploiting their status to fulfill misogynistic and, in some cases, pedophilic impulses. These acts weren't isolated. They were enabled by a network of enablers who turned a blind eye from his assistants to industry insiders. This moral decay among the elite isn't just a personal failing. It's a symptom of a society that prioritizes power and pleasure over accountability. Society's apathy towards human trafficking, particularly of children, is a stain on our collective conscience. The trafficking of women and children is not a distant problem. It's happening in our cities, facilitated by demand and indifference. The U.S. State Department's 2023 report estimated that over 100,000 children are trafficked annually in the United States alone, yet public outrage remains fleeting. Epstein's victims, many of whom were minors, were trafficked under the guise of massages or modeling opportunities. The failure to address this systemic issue through robust law enforcement, public awareness, and policy reform makes society complicit in the exploitation. Every ignored red flag, every dismissed victim story allows predators to operate unchecked. Let me be clear. I fully support the freedom of consenting adults to engage in sexual relations of their choosing. Sexual liberation, when rooted in mutual respect and consent, is a cornerstone of personal autonomy. But that freedom must have limits. When consent is coerced through power, money, or manipulation, or when children are involved, those responsible must face severe consequences. The law must draw a hard line, and society must enforce it without hesitation. The idea that personal freedom excuses exploitation is a perversion of liberty, and it's time we reject it outright. The normalization of pedophilia is an abomination that demands the strongest condemnation. no society can claim moral legitimacy while allowing the exploitation of children to be downplayed or excused. Yet we see disturbing trends. Media that softens the language around minor attracted persons, or elite circles that wink at predatory behavior as a quirk of power. Epstein's client list, which many believe exists despite official denials, points to a network of influential figures who participated in or enabled his crimes. Ghislaine Maxwell's conviction confirms the existence of a system that facilitated Epstein's abuse. The rush to shred documents in the Manhattan FBI office after the appointments of Pam Bondi and Kash Patel in late 2024 only fuels suspicion of a cover-up. But even without a list, the evidence is clear. A permissive culture among the elite allows these crimes to flourish. In the end, the Epstein case is less about a grand government conspiracy and more about a society that has lost its moral compass. Yes, the client list matters. Its existence suggests a network of complicity that must be exposed. But the real scandal is the radically permissive atmosphere that allowed Epstein, Combs, and Weinstein to operate with impunity. This isn't just about a few bad actors. It's about a culture that shrugs at exploitation, ignores trafficking, and excuses predation as a byproduct of power. We must hold these men and the systems that enabled them in equal contempt. Only by confronting our apathy, demanding accountability, and protecting the vulnerable can we even begin to dismantle the conditions that let these monsters, and these are very real monsters, that let them thrive. When we return, our segment on America's Third Watch, broadcast nationally from our flagship station, WGUL AM 860 and FM 93.7 in Tampa, Florida. If you see something, say something.